Welcome to this plenary session on the theme pipeline, an accelerator to link hydrogen ecosystem. Laurent and I are pleased to welcome 4 guests around this topic. So here we have, on this way, Antoine Huard from Verso Energy. Hello, Antoine. Next to you, you have Miko Mered from Sciences Po Paris, Christophe Luchnat from Terranet BW, and William Rahin from Terrega. So, Laurent, I give you the floor.
Okay, so the purpose is to discuss, of course, H2 pipelines. You know, we have to build a huge infrastructure to convert some gas infrastructure to hydrogen, maybe to build some new one. So we're going to see what is first, what we call the hydrogen backbone in Europe. So we have the slide and the map, basically. So as you see, a lot of pipelines are scheduled. So we'll see at the end of the day which ones can be made and what could be the agenda. Maybe a word from William Rahin, because you're from Terrega. Of course, you're involved in one of the major projects that we will discuss later on, which is H2 Med. But before, just a few words about what is hydrogen backbone, because many operators are together.
Yes, thank you, Laurent. The European hydrogen backbone was, I would say, born more than 5 years ago. So more than 5 years ago, we were, I think, 5 or 6 TSO to discuss about this backbone. And I will say the main idea at the beginning was the carbon neutrality, and so I will say less gas consumption. And regarding this, and our network, we think what we can do with our gas network. And what we think about it, in some part of the network, you can see there, you have 2 and sometimes 3 pipelines in parallel. And so regarding this, we say maybe if we have less gas consumption, then maybe 1 pipeline could be dedicated to hydrogen. And it was, I think, the main idea and the first purpose. And it was also interesting because when we first, would say, draft and published the first map in 2020, a lot of players, key players, like ports, for example, call us and say, I see the backbone, I want that this backbone cross the port. I want to see that backbone in my house, I will say. So it was also interesting. And today we are, you see on the map, we are nearly all Europe, and we have a lot. We start maybe with, at the beginning of, in 2020, it was 30,000 kilometers of pipeline, with around 2/3 of existing pipeline repurposing. And now we are more than 50,000 kilometers. So it's very interesting to see the map now and how it grows, in fact.
Thank you. Miko Mered, of course, just remind that you're an expert in hydrogen geopolitics. So as I said, it's a European initiative, but some countries go faster than others. How far from vision to reality?
Oh, damn. If I had the answer to that, guys, I think I'd be richer than I am today. Much richer. I don't know about I don't know about the exact date. But what is for sure here important is that some states are profoundly changing in terms of their inherent positioning in the geopolitics of energy in Europe. And France is part of those. France, up until now, thanks to its nuclear power, electrical grid and whatnot, France was kind of at the end, at the far end, the western end of the European electrical grid. So basically we were exporting our electricity here and there, and it was kind of easy. It was a one-way out, basically, for the energy from France to our neighbors. Now, with this hydrogen backbone, if it really takes place, if it really happens, basically France is no longer at the far end of some electrical grid. France becomes a country that is in between the main producers, in this case of hydrogen, the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, Portugal, and the main consumers of that same energy, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, and the likes. So basically for France, it's a massive, a dramatic change. And that's one thing here that politicians don't understand at the national level or locally. They don't understand that we are just completely changing our positioning in the geopolitics of energy in Western Europe. That is what comes with the European hydrogen backbone. And basically the Barmar project we've talked about so much, and we'll talk about it so much more and more and more, of course today and beyond, between Barcelona and Marseille, it has a huge role to play in this understanding from the French politicians' side of how France is changing its position in geopolitics of energy in Western Europe.
To follow, Christophe Lugenat, can you talk about the roadmap in Germany about the hydrogen pipelines?
Yeah, we are about to start with the German, we call it Kernnetz, Cornet, or the German backbone, where we really start now coming from PowerPoint to the construction side, which is it's a huge step because there were so many unpredictable things before. Now the government said, okay, we have to, because in hydrogen you also, everywhere we have the hen-egg problem. Everybody's waiting for the other one. So the German government said we have to start with, so here you see the German backbone. And this is really going to happen. It's quite a big backbone for the start, and this has to happen. It's a 10,000 kilometer plant, and it's 60% of the pipelines are repurposed, and the investment is about 20 billion, which is nothing if you compare it with what was our guys from the power, like electricity stuff doing. This is really nothing. But the thing what we did here, because we have a regulation for hydrogen since 2022, but nothing happened because there was, even if you had a producer and a client and you have a grid between, it would be too expensive to build a pipeline because it would be prohibitive expensive for the client to pay for the whole grid. So what we did, or the government is now doing, they're saying, we put in the future. We're starting with a few clients with a whole grid, which has to be finished at 2032. And we're already starting with the first pipelines next year to build or refurbish. And what we're doing, we start with a net tariffs, which are very low for the beginning because they're not enough to cover the cost for our grid. So we have a loss at the beginning, but then we keep the starting tariff constant, and there more and more clients come to the grid. So it should be, at one point you have the break-even point where it should be that the tariff should go down, but we keep it constant until the losses from the beginning are covered. And we're planning this to do till 2055. So we can really start with a payable amount at the beginning. And the only thing that the government is doing for us is they give us a guarantee if 2055, this so-called amortization account is not even, they will pay us 76% of that what is left. And that's enough that we now can start to really build this grid. And everybody, it's not really approved by the national regulator. It should be done last Monday, but probably at the beginning or at the middle of October. But more or less, it will be that grid. And this is like every exit and entry point, which is important for hydrogen, is covered, and all the big where the steel companies, the chemical companies are, or the potential hydrogen power plants, they're all covered. And this is a good start, and this really happened. And this is very important because this gives security to potential clients and potential producers, because now they know there will be a grid where I can put my hydrogen in. And if you are an industry, then, you know, you really can, for example, a chemical or a steel industry, you have no other options than hydrogen. Now you really can make investment and plan, because this, by law, we have to do this grid. And this is really, really important to get rid of this hen and egg problem.
Thank you. We're going to discuss now the first cross-border project, which is called Mosaic. So we'll see as in the slides. So as you can see, several countries are concerned. Micomeret, it's what we call the Grande Région.
Yeah,
With the mic, it's better.
Of course, yeah. It's the Grande Région. Basically, it's the territory of collaboration between France, between Germany, between Luxembourg, and of course, this will have further connections moving along beyond Luxembourg to Belgium ultimately. But basically, this kind of project is an absolute necessity. Indeed, if you don't have onshore, easy to operate or easy to build or easy to collaborate on projects like that, then basically bigger projects like Barmar and the likes won't happen. So basically, I use this as kind of a proof of concept. I don't know if you'll agree, Antoine, but it's kind of a proof of concept that it is possible to collaborate on an infrastructure basis here, transborder-wise, in Europe to build this necessary infrastructure. And circling back to your question earlier on that I didn't answer fully, this is definitely one of the first projects, but it's not the only one. What is important with this one is that there are going to be new pipelines, not just about refurbished or repurposed pipelines. But beyond this project, there's already the Netherlands building their network. They started in October last year. There's Belgium with Fluxys also developing their own network. Christophe has mentioned Germany, of course. And there's new kids on the block like Italy, Austria, Slovenia. We'll get back into that later on. But this one, it's an absolute prerequisite to see if it actually works. And it does work, right?
Antoine, you are exactly. Verso Energy is leading an ambition hydrogen production project in this region, in eastern France. What are the key features of the project?
Well, thank you. It's very exciting to hear the way you present this project, but I do agree it's a first-of-a-kind project. It's a proof of concept. It demonstrates that it's possible to develop interconnection grid of hydrogen, to transport hydrogen, which is difficult to transport. And why I think it's a proof of concept, it's because we, as a hydrogen producer, we decided to come and install a hydrogen plant in this place because of that grid. Otherwise, we would have gone maybe somewhere else. So it shows that such an infrastructure is a way to attract investment and to develop and catalyze investment both on the production side but also on the consumption side. Because most of our clients who will consume hydrogen on both sides of the border will, as it has been mentioned, invest in their hydrogen consumption because of that grid. So what is our project? Our project is named Carlin, and it's named Carlin after the name of the small city of Carlin that you can see on this map at the bottom south of the infrastructure. And it's an industrial hydrogen plant that will produce about 51,000 tons of hydrogen by 2030. It is phased in three phases as a ramp up. The first phase of each phase will be 100 megawatt of electrolysis. So each phase will produce around 17,000 tons of hydrogen per year. I would have loved to show you a picture, but it was sent too late, unfortunately. But basically, it looks like a big plant with a lot of electrolysis capacity put together in order to produce all that hydrogen with low carbon and renewable electricity. We developed this project together with the grid operators, the transport system operators like RTE and GRT Gas and Creos, because of course we need electricity to produce that hydrogen, and we will use this infrastructure to export hydrogen to clients on both sides of the border. 2 points I would like to mention about this project is, first of all, it's a truly Franco-German project. We are a French company investing in France to produce hydrogen that will be sold to clients that are on the other side of the border. For example, the large steel manufacturer SHS, who is a very large German company based in Dillingen. And we are using a German technology, Siemens Energy, to produce the electrolyzers, but they will be produced in Berlin and assembled in France by a company which is actually a joint venture between Siemens Energy and Air Liquide. So you see, it's a Franco-German project. And that leads me to the second point I wanted to mention, is that this project does demonstrate actually that it is possible to have a Franco-German cooperation on energy. When we look at about, I think Mika will not disagree with me, that when we look about the Franco-German cooperation in energy, everybody talked about conflictual discussions about nuclear and gas and electricity mix.
No position on that point.
But actually, we do believe that it's possible to have a cooperation between France and Germany, and that this project is a good example. It's a win-win project, and we are very proud to be part of it. I would also conclude by saying it's a very ambitious project. It's a first of a kind. Really, I think there is not such example of a 300 megawatt electrolysis project in Europe that will be commissioned before 2030. I think there is a 200 megawatt in Normandy, but it's Air Liquide developing it. Here it's a bit different. And it's a first also infrastructure project that will be commissioned, Mosaic. So we have the responsibility to make it work, because I think it will pave the way for all the other developments that will take place and will replicate this model in other European regions.
Thank you. Maybe a reaction from Christoph Luschnat, because Germany is concerned. What do you think of this project?
This is perfect. Shows how it has to be, and we also have a project I will talk about later called Rhine Interco, together with GRT Gas and Badenova Netze. It's not the same, but it's also bringing hydrogen from France to Germany, and later on, and we will talk about it later, I guess, when the project HY FEN is finished and this is connected to the Rhine project from GRT Gas. Then we hope this is like a big import corridor for Germany, and very important for us to grow, to fill, because that's the next point. Now we have this hydrogen network and we have to build it to 32. The next task is to fill it with hydrogen. So, and these projects are very helpful, especially for us in Baden-Württemberg, where you said France was at the end, it's a little bit the same. If you look, most people think hydrogen comes from North Sea, the Baltic Sea, or from the Netherlands, and we need the corridors from the south.
We carry on with the next big border project, H2 Med, with 450 kilometers of pipeline of hydrogen, with the ambition to connect Portugal, Spain, France, and Germany. So we have
going
a display.
To see the next slide, please. So H2 Med.
On the screen, exactly, H2 Med.
Okay, so H2 Med, this is a so huge project with the Barmar part between, of course, Spain and France. So William Terrega is involved in this project with other operators.
Yes, it's a corridor project from Portugal to Germany, with Spain and France and Germany, obviously. And we are part of the project on the pipeline, offshore pipeline between Barcelona and Marseille, with GRT Gas and Enagaz. The feasibility study are ongoing and nearly finished to confirm, I would say, the cost estimation. And the next step for us will be before the end of the year to initiate a call for interest, a non-binding one, but I would say necessary to test the market and to confirm the needs of this pipeline. And obviously it's also connected with HY FEN, and so we will have a call of interest, which is, we try to make it, I would say, easy, because you have a corridor from Portugal to Germany, so I would say you can just use a part from Spain to Germany, or from France to Germany, but we will have to think as a corridor. So we try to make it easy for the call of interest to be, I would say, quite clear and not too complicated.
There is a political willingness, but in how many years could it be achieved if we are lucky?
Up to date, we are foreseen, I would say, investment decision, a final investment decision, the famous FID, in 2026. So I would say, if the market, and we will test it before the end of the year, if the market is here, I would say it will help, obviously, to have this decision in 2026. And if we have this decision in 2026, we can start in 2030, clearly. So it's feasible, but we have no time, no margin, but it is possible. But I would say the market will help us, obviously. If we have the market, it will help, clearly.
Christoph Luschnat again. So this is a connection coming from the south, and we see the link to Germany, and the Rhine network you were mentioning is here on the map.
Yeah, as I said before, it's very, very important for us, and we made about 2 surveys already, one national-wide and one only for Baden-Württemberg. And the last one we did is for the scenario for the next net development plan, which we do in gas and hydrogen together in 2 years. So we're planning it together. So we know that especially in Baden-Württemberg, we have a huge demand on hydrogen. So we can help with the demand. If you need it, we have supplies and everything. I mean, it's not everything.
We need it.
Yeah, you can have it. Because it's not, I mean, if you talk about hydrogen, it's always, it's just for the chemical industry, it's just for the steel. But we have demand in all kind of industries in Baden-Württemberg. And I guess we have to open that because the demand is everywhere. It's, at the end, it's a question of is the hydrogen there and what is the cost? But I guess with projects like this, it could be like a commodity.
Miko, what is your point of view of this H2Med project?
This project has to work. It has to work for whom? It has to work for Germany to actually meet its hydrogen roll-up, ramp-up targets. It has to work for Spain for the same reason. It has to work for Portugal for the same reason. It has to work as well because beyond Spain, Portugal, there's also people in North Africa, particularly in Morocco, who are actually seeing this infrastructure and saying, well, you know, having a pipeline, subsea pipeline and under the Strait of Gibraltar and connecting Moroccan or even Mauritanian possible hydrogen production to this whole infrastructure all the way to Germany and the Benelux, that would be quite amazing in terms of cost savings and so on. So basically this project, the Barmar part and then the HY FEN part, as you can see, all the way from the Marseille-Fos area all the way to Germany, this has to work. If it fails, it's actually the whole hydrogen backbone, the European one we've seen before, that fails. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's also other candidates right now in Europe for such large pipelines that have emerged. And at the same time, they've emerged and basically they're pushing back the operational dates further and further and further. And here, that's a challenge. And I'm gonna end with that, don't worry. The main challenge is the technical part. I can't wait to see the feasibility study to confirm the cost. Because when we see that, and if the cost is acceptable, then really we can have something that is truly happening. If you go to the other side of Germany, the one side, the northern side that you don't see here on this map, it was supposed to be connected to Norway. That project is cancelled. It was supposed to be, by pipeline of course, it was supposed to be connected by pipeline as well to Denmark. That project has just been pushed back to 2032. So basically, on the northern part, Germany can't get what it needs. If on the southern part, Germany can't get what it needs, the 2032 target and what's mandatory in German law right now in terms of market ramp up and whatnot, that will not happen. So basically here we can't fail, and there's a competitor emerging. And that competitor is Italy with the South H2 corridor. Maybe we'll dive into that a little bit.
Oh, yes, and even now, because
Beautiful.
we can see that Italy has strong ambitions as well, and you mentioned a lot of competitors, Algeria, maybe Tunisia one day, other countries from Africa, so...
Definitely. Basically, in Italy, everything changed when the neo-fascist government of Giorgia Meloni came to power. Basically, what she said was, if you want to connect the northern part of Italy, which is the industrial part, to the southern part, and bring some value to the southern part, which is basically a part that, you know, she can get some electorate in there. Basically, what you have to do is build infrastructure to connect north to south, the whole country. And one good way of doing that is developing natural gas. Okay, there's already a pipeline, but with the European targets and whatnot, it would be complicated. Hydrogen is a good candidate for that. So the South H2 corridor basically would originate from Algeria, go through Tunisia, go through then Sicily, and go up all the way across the Italian peninsula, with some branch going to Slovenia, with some branch going to Austria, and maybe possibly connecting to Germany through Switzerland. So basically this is happening, and she wants, Giorgia Meloni, that is, she really wants Italy to become a hub for hydrogen. And it's the same issue that what I've mentioned before for France that she's tackling. She's saying Italy was at the far end, here the southern end of the European electrical grid. Here, with hydrogen, we can change that and make Italy a hub. Great, Spain wants to be the same. They want to be a hub as well. So Spain is betting on Morocco. Italy is betting on Libya, Tunisia, and Algeria. Here you can see, basically, in a very short introduction to the topic, how all of these pipelines are actually completely changing the face of the geopolitics of energy here in Europe.
We should create a song, We Are the World, in H2.
Yeah, we come back on the local and national project, especially with GRT Gas, a project on hydrogen. So let's have a look on the screen, the map.
Yes, so we can see some national projects from GRT Gas. So we have two main operators, GRT Gas and of course Terega. We'll discuss later on the projects on your side. But I just wanted to show you that for the main industrial sites, we have some projects, and to make some links, we can also imagine that e-fuels that may be produced near Le Havre, for instance, may come to Paris to fuel the planes. We will see that in the future. We have a next slide just after. Okay, and if we see the HY FEN network, for instance, you have the chemical valley in the southeast of France, in the Lyon area. So, and we can see also some links with other countries, with foreign countries. We have Belgium, of course. We have some nice projects ongoing. So maybe Antoine Huard, you can say a word, because we heard you about Mosaic, but what's your opinion on those future networks? Is that an opportunity for you to produce and have your production being carried?
Yeah, well, I think it's both an opportunity and a challenge for a producer, because it's an opportunity because we can use those infrastructure to export hydrogen to more clients. We can be connected to clients all over Europe, and we do have, as I mentioned, we do decide to install our projects connected to those grids. But let's imagine what can be the thinking of a German client connected to Mosaic. Is he going to sign with us a 10-year contract to buy hydrogen now, or is he going to wait for hydrogen coming from Spain in 10 years? It's a very difficult question, and we have to face this reality that the development of an infrastructure like this can bring price of hydrogen down, which is a very good news for everyone, but it can also deter the investment decision in the production side or on the consumption side. If you take the example of a steel manufacturer in Germany, he has to make a huge investment to convert his installation into the direct reduction iron facility to use hydrogen to produce iron and to produce steel. Sorry, and this is something that can actually have an impact if it's done in an uncoordinated way. And so what we believe is that this development of such an infrastructure should be done in such a way that we send the right signal to the investors, both on production side and consumption side, to keep investing. And this is probably the job of the, of course, the public side, but also most specifically on the regulatory side, because we need a regulatory environment that allows for such a development to be done in a coordinated way.
Thank you. So we shift to Terega now, and I would like to see the next slide, because you're going to discuss with William of the ISO projects. Always some nice names to mention the projects.
Yes, hydrogen southwest, in the southwest of France. Yes, but clearly in the southwest of France, the hydrogen market is, I will say, is due to the biogenic CO2 potential. Actually, we've got a huge biogenic CO2 potential in the southwest due to paper industry. And so we have got quite, I will say, regarding the territory, quite a lot of e-fuel production project to valorize the biogenic CO2. And then we need hydrogen to do this. So clearly the network and the storage also, I will say, I will develop to answer to this need. And also, the second point is that the French hydrogen strategy open to hydrogen import also. And regarding this, the ports like Bordeaux or Port-la-Nouvelle are very interested in importation of hydrogen. And so it's open also, I would say, a dynamic in the territory. And regarding what say Antoine, clearly today the question for the e-fuel project is, do I produce on site with electrolysis? In the southwest of France, we got the power capacity, so it is interesting. Up to date, Elise Energy, Verso Energy also, and Encare are thinking of producing electrolysis directly on site. But as said by Antoine, they are thinking, and what's happened if competitive hydrogen is coming from Barmar and from the southwest? Shall I still wait a little bit, or shall I whatever start to be the first? Because you have also, regarding e-fuel and SAF, mainly the fact that you want to be the first on the market. So it's clearly up to date period, I will say, to think about it and to have iteration, clearly. And also it's the call for interest for H2Med will be also interesting for this, because we will have, I think, discussion with producer but also off-takers, and it will help to have, I think, the final decision for this project.
So we are mentioning a project based in the southwest of France, where you're located, by the way, but do you have some other projects in the rest of France?
Yes, we got some project in Brittany, in the north also of France, because the Terega group is working obviously in the southwest, because we are born in Lac, I would say 70 years ago, but we have also an affiliate, Terega Solutions, which is developing, I would say, a private pipe, which could be used for distribution, but also for industry. And this pipe have only, I would say, one client. And so we can work in all the territory in France, but it's private pipe. But there is some idea, because clearly it is one point, but I repeat it because sometimes it's not always in the head of everybody, but it is cheaper to transport hydrogen rather to transport electricity.
Now we propose you to carry on with you, Christophe, in Germany. Can you talk about the project in Baden-Württemberg land? Pronunciation in Germany is not very well.
Yes, of course.
Next slide, please.
Yes. I try to explain what you see on this slide. Our grid is not only in Baden-Württemberg, but this is just the part Baden-Württemberg that you see, and you see a couple of pipelines, a couple of blue, and you see the years. What we did, because the climate neutral goal for Baden-Württemberg is 2040, I mean Germany is 45, the EU is 50, but we have 2040. So we take this very seriously, and we plan backwards. So we said, 2040, if we take it serious, no natural gas is going through our pipelines anymore. And so we plan, when do we have to transfer which pipeline to hydrogen that we finish at 2040? Of course, 2040, we have another grid than this, but we have to plan, because we also have to plan with our resources, because we can't employ 2,000 people between 38 and 40 to finish the rest. So we start already now to prepare pipelines between 2030 and 35 that switch just before 40. So this is a big project. And if you see the blue areas, this is where we want to get the hydrogen in the landscape, and therefore, which is also a very important player in this game, we need the DSOs, because on our pipelines we have a couple of clients, but the most clients that we want to come through we need the DSOs, and so we have talked to them and have workshops with them, so we plan together. It's a big communication task. And one project, I need the next slide, but you see there on the left already 2030, is the Rhine Intercore project.
Next one, please.
Yeah, here's the Rhine Intercore project. We were talking about this before, and we want to finish or start with, not finish the project, but let hydrogen flow from France to Germany 2029. So we start. There's the Rhine project from GRT Gas on the French side, and we plan to build a pipeline under the Rhine to connect to the Rhine project and make the Rhine project the Rhine Interco project, because we make the interconnection to Germany. And first, we want bring the hydrogen 2029 to Freiburg to have a power plant and another big industry client, and then 32, 5, we want to go to Offenburg. Then when the HY FEN project is running and we have enough hydrogen, this is going to build up. But this is the beginning, so we start with electrolyzers on the French side, 2029, and then if the other projects are running, we really hope that it's going to happen. We're doing this. And maybe the last slide is very interesting, because here you see the cornet, and I said the cornet has to be finished 2032, and if you look at our plan for Baden-Württemberg 2035, you see nearly all projects are, this is not science fiction 2035, these are projects that have to be done till 2030. We are right on track for that. The only thing that is missing in the cornet is the little part from Freiburg to Offenburg, but we make this between 2032 and 2035. So we're well on track to do this. What the really big task now is that we get the hydrogen from wherever, from you or from Italy or from wherever. This is the next task, to fill these projects with hydrogen.
Okay, we come nearly to the end of this session. I would like now to discuss the storage, because you know, you can have some local production thanks to renewable, but you have to store the energy and then to fill the pipe, of course, in order to fulfill all the needs for industry. So we have some projects with salt caverns. Maybe a word about that, William, because, for instance, you have a project on that topic.
Yes, regarding ISO project we see before, we are developing a storage in salt cavity near Dax. And clearly we are quite in advance, I would say, because we are developing the cavity. It takes time to develop salt cavity. You have to wash the cavity and to create it, so it takes 8 to 10 years to create it, because the salt, you produce brine when you wash the cavity, and so you produce salt, but it takes time to evaporate the salt and to sell it. But we are developing this storage because we think we are already a company of gas storage, so we know that storage will be needed. And up to date, we see that regarding e-fuel project, for example, there is needs to have flexibility regarding the power market, and when you have production of hydrogen with electrolysis and huge production, 100 of megawatt, it's big consumption of electricity. And then regarding the electricity market, you need to have flexibility. So we know what we'll need to have some flexibility between the power network and the hydrogen network. There will be some coupling. And also regarding e-fuel production, it's a chemical industry, and you need to stop this chemical industry 1 week or 2 weeks each year. And when you stop your e-fuel production, you still have the electrolysis, and maybe you can produce. And then maybe it is interesting at this time to produce hydrogen when the power or electricity is cheaper, and to store it. So we think it will be needed. We are working on this subject, and to find, I will say, the business model.
Okay, Mikko Mered, is that a new challenge in Europe, storage projects? We know that in France, in Germany, we have some projects.
It's a huge challenge indeed, but there's a lot of European companies, be it French, be it Austrian, be it German, or in the Netherlands, or even in Norway, who are far advanced in the international game when it comes to storage, developing salt caverns, but also developing all the kinds of storage, artificial or natural underground storage, that can basically unlock the market globally, not just here in Europe. But definitely, this whole European hydrogen backbone can't work without strong storage capacities. And you see that already if we go back a few slides, if we go back to the map of the different projects in France. If you look at the Inframed project, for example, that's a pipeline that would connect HY FEN to the Manosque area, so basically Vaucluse and Bouches-du-Rhône, northeast of Marseille. This pipeline is only dedicated to connect H2Med to a storage facility, a natural underground one. So basically the storage here is key. But I want to stress one thing, and don't worry, once again, I'll end with that. I'm really glad, Christophe, that you're here and that you're talking about H2 coordinates, because I think this shows how we are lagging behind in France compared to our German neighbors. We often like to make fun of the Germans. They don't understand anything about anything. Football sometimes, energy and whatnot. But the reality is this. They have mandatory targets with mapped targets to deliver national hydrogen infrastructure by 2032. In the French National Hydrogen Strategy, we have no such thing. The French National Hydrogen Strategy was supposed to be redone in 2023. We are already 1.5 years
and we're still waiting
behind. That's where I'm going to. Basically, in the project, the draft project that was presented by the government to the National Hydrogen Council in March 2024, basically there was no such thing as a mapped hydrogen infrastructure. But the Minister of Industry, Roland Lescure at the time in March, said, we will introduce in the final version of the National Hydrogen Strategy one target, which is develop a national hydrogen infrastructure master plan for this kind of infrastructure, storage, pipelines, and the likes, by 2026. So in our strategy, we're going to say we need a master plan in 2 years' time. And of course, in between, what did we have? We had the European elections, we had the assembly completely falling apart with the three powers that you know now. Basically, the national hydrogen strategy is nowhere right now near publishing. So are we going to wait until 2027 now, or even 2028, just to get a national hydrogen infrastructure for pipeline storage and the likes master plan? Well, that's where, unfortunately, that's where actually we're at the moment. So this shows you that basically we have, at the moment, at the very least, 3 to 4 years lagging behind compared to Germany. They're much more advanced than we are. So maybe we should stop making fun of them and learning from them a little bit and basically get our shit together.
It's like football. Germany wins in the end.
To conclude this session, can you say a word, maybe Antoine first, about the H2 pipelines and about your hopes for the agenda?
I have a lot of hopes. Otherwise, I would have stopped doing that for a long time. I think one of the reasons why we are lagging behind, as mentioned by Mika just 2 minutes ago, is because I think there are some short-sighted analysis in France about we don't want to develop that infrastructure because we don't want to be just, a highway of hydrogen between producers in the south and consumers in the north. And I have been personally facing that kind of discussion when our project in Carlin was presented to the policymakers in France, especially at the Ministry of Energy. And I've been told, why are we going to use our low carbon electricity to decarbonize German consumers? And I was shocked to hear that, and I was actually speechless. But now thinking about it, I think it's a good example of why we are going to face huge delays. It's because we don't see the long-term perspective. We are looking at backwards 2-3 years ago when we had an energy crisis and we say, oh, maybe we are going to lack electricity to face electricity shortages. So we should keep our electricity for ourselves instead of using it to produce hydrogen. But it's a complete nonsense for at least 4 reasons, and I will conclude on that point. First of all, the climate change will not stop at the French-German border, not like the Chernobyl, cloud. The second reason is that we are not going to face any electricity shortage. At the first semester of 2024, France has exported 44 terawatt hours of electricity, mainly to Germany, mainly at €0 per kilowatt hour, even some negative price. So it would make sense to just use that electricity to produce hydrogen and sell it to Germany for a small price, but still a higher price than zero. And I think this view is just pure logic, but unfortunately not well shared. The third reason is that France is probably the most suited country in Europe to produce hydrogen and e-fuel, because we have low carbon electricity, we have a very strong grid infrastructure, we have biogenic CO2, we have enough land, enough space to develop those infrastructure, and we have the know-how. We have good engineers with experience in hydrogen space, so it's a pity that we don't move further. And the last but not least, the fourth reason is that those cross-border infrastructure, because I'm mainly talking about the cross-border infrastructure here, they are necessary because those cross-border territories are interdependent, they are interconnected. So it's a complete nonsense to say, I won't produce hydrogen in France to decarbonize and help a German consumer on the other side of the border, because this consumer is giving job and business to a lot of French companies on the other side of the borders, and a lot of people are living, and the other way around, living from each other. So for those 4 reasons, I think my hope is that these 4 reasons are going to be at the top of the agenda, instead of short-sighted analysis like I mentioned, and I remain optimistic that we will be able to overcome those hurdles.
William, a final word and your hopes.
Yes, I agree with Antoine and Miko. I think it is the point. Today we see that we are more helped, I will say, by the Europe strategy than the France strategy, clearly. The lack, I will say, of French strategy could be, I will say, maybe today it's a delay, but we should care about it, because we can miss the train, I think. Because as we say, the hydrogen could go through Italy and Austria. And so from the beginning, when we start the European backbone, clearly between Spain and Germany, there were the France in the middle, and it was like the hole in the racket. and clearly we pushed to this because, as said by Antoine, we have the know-how, we have in the national territory all the cards to play the game and to be competitive. But clearly today, without French strategy, we can miss clearly the train, and it will be a mess, I think.
Christophe, a final word from Germany.
Yeah, I agree to everything what you said, and we depend on France that you get your stuff together. But what really is I think it's very, very important now is, as I said before, we have a lot of projects now. We really need to get the hydrogen to fill the grids, and we know from Germany, especially Baden-Württemberg in Germany, we know the demand is unbelievable high. If it come to a price and this is what is affordable, it would be so huge. So though we need these pipelines, of course, but we also need to get the hydrogen production going in really big scales.
Thank you to all our speakers, and let's have a break for lunch now, and we come back on the TV show at 1:30, yes, with France Hydrogène.